Well, good morning, everybody, and lovely to see you virtually on this roundtable for employers to look at this really important topic of supporting young talent into employment through skills-based CSR programs. And very welcome to join us at City and Guilds for this occasion. We are recording it so that we can use it with other people who may want to watch this afterwards. But you are very welcome to join us, and I'm very pleased that you've been able to do that. We see on the list we've got some good old friends out there who are with us this morning. We've also got some of our Princess Royal Training Award organisations, so it's great to see them too. And of course, we've got colleagues from City and Guilds who joined us too today. Well, first of all, thank you, Paula, for organising this. Very grateful for that. Don't forget all the usual housekeeping stuff. You can use the chat to put questions in. Please put yourselves on mute if you're not actually speaking, which will help with the broadband width for most people. And we will in a moment go through the way that we're going to structure this event. I'm Michael Osbaldeston, that terrible photograph there, which has caused vast amusement by my colleagues, especially Sally, since we showed it earlier on. So apologies for that. Perhaps we move on to the next slide, which is slightly less frightening. But I'm really pleased that we're addressing this question today. It's very close to my own heart. I was lucky enough to work with City and Guilds and business in the community on a number of initiatives around using skills to bring people into the workplace through the Generation Talent Programme and through the Future Proof initiative. So this is something which I personally have a tremendous interest in. We also did jargon-free jobs. Jargon-free jobs, really important part of encouraging young people into the world of work in a way that they can understand. So we will be hearing from Sally in a few moments. We'll then have a panel of guest speakers, and I'm delighted that we've got Evelyn Bate, Head of Academy at Nestle, Adele Bridgman, the Talent Partner at Lab Bible Group, and John Paddock, the Head of Employability at B&M Stores. And of course, there could be no better time to face this particular question. I think post-COVID, post-Brexit, an awful lot of people in the world of work and entering the world of work have always been traumatized by the changes that we've been faced with, particularly young people who are finding entry into the world of work very, very different to anybody who's ever done it before. So starting a new job sat on the end of your own bed is something which none of us have done. And therefore, we do need to look at ways of enabling young talent. And I think that word is really important because the word is talent, young people, talent. If we miss out on engaging the talent of young people, we miss out on a really important resource for all our organizations and businesses. So a really important time to do this. It's really important that we have a chance to talk about it. We've got three great people with us who can tell us what they've been doing. I happen to know from looking at the delegate list, we've also got some great experience with us today as well. But first of all, I want to turn my attention to Sally Ely, one of my colleagues, the director of the City and Guilds Foundation. And I want to have a short conversation with Sally and understand how the work that we do in the foundation fits into the wider City and Guilds group. So Sally, do you want to just tell us a bit about the foundation and what our responsibilities and what we're aiming to do is?
Yeah, sure. Lovely to be here, and thank you for that. I've now stopped laughing at that huge photo of you, Michael.
Signed copies are available, Sally.
Thank you. So the foundation, yes, it's really, we've got three main things that we're trying to achieve. We're trying to help remove barriers for people getting into work. We're about celebrating best practice in work and advocating for jobs of the future. So that's the purpose of the foundation, and it fits in with the wider City and Guilds group, which is all about, of course, getting people into jobs, helping them progress in that job and into the next job. So in terms of the removing barriers, we run a number of grants and bursary programs where we help people who are facing multiple barriers get into employment, because as you say, it's all about uncovering talent, isn't it? Finding it, giving the right support, and then providing opportunity. So that's what that area of work is about. The award side, that's shining a light on best practice. As you said earlier, we've got quite a few Princess Royal Training Award recipients here, and hopefully other people here might also want to put forward their programs, because this recognition scheme is all about recognising excellence in training and learning and development, skills development, and being able to evidence and prove where you've used an intervention successfully and then made a difference to your bottom line and your people. So that's what the Princess Royal Training Awards recognises, and it's, you know, we use that, the community are brilliant at sharing their best practice, helping others do the same. And then
sorry, I was going to say the Seeking Hills group is a number of organisations, and parts of that group do some really exciting work, don't they, in terms of helping people get into jobs through the interventions that they support.
Yeah, sure. So things like we've got, as well as our awarding area, City and Guilds, we've got Intertrain and Gen 2. Gen 2 is based in Cumbria, which is an apprenticeship training centre really for the decommissioning site up there in Cumbria, and we've been running a pre-apprenticeship programme with them for some years now. I think there's been 90 young people put through this programme, people who couldn't get into apprenticeships, perhaps hadn't, you know, ended up with their leaving school with the right levels of qualification that they needed to get into a job. And through this programme, we've now been able, I know that from the 90 that have gone into, 85% have gone into meaningful jobs, which is again what we're trying to achieve, getting people into sustained employment, not just any old job. In our Intertrain business, which is a track maintenance training centre in the Midlands, but it provides training for across the UK, we've also been running a bursary programme with them for a couple of years now, and that's been very much targeted at people with multiple barriers who were not in any kind of training, educational work before, and we've, you know, 60% of those are now in work. So we know that if you put together the right types of programme, and they do involve more support, so it's about a package of skills development, qualification, and then some broader support, it really does enable you to get different, you know, people into your organisation who are then going to go on and really excel. So, you know, that's what we've been doing there.
And because we're a royal charter body, we are privileged to have access to the Princess Royal, who allows us to offer training awards in her name, from the benefits of being a charity and being a royal charter organisation, and organisations that range from major global international corporates through to national and local charities achieve the standard required to get the Princess Royal Training Award by demonstrating the impact that training has in their organisations. Now, that also leads us into a relationship, doesn't it, with a number of organisations who through COVID we've been able to support because we recognise the really brilliant work they do. And one of the ones that springs to mind is Resurgo in West London, and they do some brilliant stuff, and you visited them not long ago. So Sally, how do we engage with people like that to facilitate them doing even greater things?
So yeah, Resurgo, a great example. So yeah, and thank you for reminding me that they're in West London, because as you know, my geography is terrible, so I always say some general area. Resurgo are all around. Their whole model is about supporting through mentoring and coaching young people getting into work. So they are a charity, and they've got brilliant results at getting very high levels of people going through their programs then into jobs. During COVID, there was even more demand for their services, and so one of the things that they were looking for was increased funding, which we were able to support them with to help them get 2 more people trained up, to help people develop confidence in a different way. As you said before, we all had to adapt differently when COVID hit. I mean, I'm still not used to working like this, having these Zoom meetings, and I've done hundreds of them, but we were able to give them some funding to help them support people in a different way, and again, help prepare them to get into jobs. So that was a really nice way that we were able to develop our partnership with them. There's another one that springs to mind as well, Snow Camp. They are an organisation, again, that got the Princess Royal Training Award for some outstanding work that they've done that led to great results. They run snow sports. They use that as their vehicle to sort of help people with employability skills, confidence building. And again, during COVID, they found that a lot of people were there was a lot more mental health problems raising their heads. So effectively, we gave them some funding to take on some additional staff in order to be able to, again, support their people, support those going through the training, and also support those giving the training as well. So we have been able to go on through our awards and recognition side to perhaps through our funding side support programs that are all connected to, again, diversifying talent, helping people through skills development, get into really great jobs and careers.
That measuring impact of those interventions is really important, isn't it? And the work we did with St Giles Trust in their peer mentoring programme led to a really impressive piece of work and the opportunity to access funding that allowed them to build on that programme. And that's with a particular group of people, isn't it, Sally?
Yeah, so the St Giles work, this is one of our big areas of focus, is supporting people with convictions getting back into work. That can be a huge barrier, not just because, you know, a lot of employers won't look at you if you've got a conviction, but the whole experience of being in prison can also mean that, you know, there's a lot more support needed. So with St Giles, we gave them £100,000 grant to put together a specific qualification. Qualifications really help give people confidence to believe that they can do what they've got skills for. And we developed a qualification for their peer mentoring program. They're all about helping people with lived experience help people with lived experience get into work. And we developed this qualification, and the program was so successful that it enabled them to train a lot more peer mentors, and also then, as you say, access, I think they got a grant of 3 million from the lottery, which enabled them to scale up their program across the UK. So you can sort of see where our small grants can then help really generate a much bigger ripple effect in the future. And I think that there are, you know, as I said, we do a lot of work around this area of getting people who've been in prison into work. And I think that that's something I feel really passionately about. And there's a lot more that I think employers in general can do to support that agenda.
Absolutely, that ripple effect is really important, and I'm hoping that from this morning's event, the input from our speakers and from yourself, Sally, will help generate that ripple out. And I know that everybody who's involved in the event this morning will be willing to share their best practice with other people and to talk and to share best, you know, all those things that help people develop even better programs. You know, if you stand on the shoulders of giants, you see further. And as you know, one of my great things in life is stopping people reinventing wheels, as well as putting horrible pictures of myself up at Zoom calls. But it's really important that we share how we do things well, and we enable other people to continue to do things even better than we can. And certainly with the St Giles Trust and their access to additional funding, that made a very significant difference during the pandemic, and nationwide, as opposed to the small pilot that we helped fund. So thank you, Sally. I'm going to move on now, in fact, to our guests. And the first person I want to speak to is Evelyn Bate, the head of the Academy at Nestle, or as we call it when we're children, Nestles. But I'm sure we've all learned to speak better since then. We'll come on to learning French later on when we talk to one of our other speakers. So it's Nestle, as we all know, is an enormous organization. It's a global organization. It is the world's largest, in fact, food and beverage company. Now, having had a look on the website, it's fascinating to see around the agendas that we're all confronting at the moment, that Nestle are taking that impact of global well-being of the current food chain very seriously indeed, and establish their generation regeneration program to bring its mission of good food and good life, not just to people in the UK, but also to people globally. And that's something I think we would all applaud them for. Now, the Nestle Academy offers a wide range of entry points into their business through graduates, through apprenticeships, through placements, and indeed through internships. Clearly, growing talent is critical to the success of their business. So Evelyn, can you talk to us now about how you're using your CSR program to engage young people and bring them into your organization?
Yeah, certainly. And thank you for having me here today. Nice to meet you, Michael. So from an academy perspective in Nestle, we see our purpose is all around building skills for the future. And that's for our organization to win, for our people to reach their full potential, and more importantly now than ever before, for all the reasons that you've spoken about already, as a force for good. And we've been working with an organisation called Wild Hearts for probably about 3 or 4 years now. They're a social enterprise. And we started our journey out with them using them as our stationery provider as part of our procurement for good, because because they're a social enterprise, any profit they generate by the stationery we bought from them goes into being reinvested to do good elsewhere. So that's how we started our journey out with them. And over time, our relationship with them has evolved. And one of the areas, as I said, from an academy perspective, we really wanted to focus on was this, I guess, levelling up piece. And how can we support people from low social mobility backgrounds, but also more ethnically diverse backgrounds, to make those first steps into the world of work. And to use a phrase that Mick Jackson, CEO of Wild Hearts, uses, he says, forget taking the next step on the ladder. A lot of the kids that they work with don't necessarily know the ladder exists. So for us, we're working with Wild Hearts on a number of different initiatives, but I'll talk to you about one of the programs that we've developed with them. So we have an employability mentoring program with Wild Hearts, and that is basically aimed at doing two things. It's aimed at raising the awareness and aspiration of young people, but also about building their confidence. Now, at the moment, I'll be really honest, it is more towards that kind of force for good side of it. And actually, we're not necessarily really pushing this as around how do we get people to join our organisation. It's more of a generic, let's really kind of support young people to make those first steps into the world of work. Obviously, if people want to join Nestle at the end of it, then that's awesome, because clearly we want them to join our organisation. But the foundation for this program was more around, providing those skills for people. So there are 5 workshops basically that we developed. One was about just, I guess, an introduction and to meet people. The second was all around, let's talk to you about the world of work. How do you get into the world of work? What are the different options? Talk to them about apprenticeships. So one of the things that we found is, the awareness of apprenticeships and people wanting to go to apprenticeships is still so low. And there are so many opportunities that exist that people just don't know about. So really wanted to raise awareness of apprenticeships as part of this. The third workshop was all around helping people identify their own strengths to help, I guess, build their confidence around actually what some of their skills and abilities are. Then we did the fourth workshop was all around, okay, so what are the employability skills that employers are looking for? And then got people to do a bit of a kind of match of, okay, so what are my strengths and what are employers looking for? So that actually, do you know what, I have some of the stuff that employers are looking for to, again, build that confidence. And then the final workshop that we did was all around how do you put your best self forward? And we are, well, I mean, I guess from our first programs that we've run, we've looked at 2 measures of success, really. One was around consideration of apprenticeships, which went from 20% pre-program to 44% post. So, really great increase. And the other was around confidence in terms of making those decisions on the next steps for their kind of schooling or career. And that went from around 45% to 89% post-program. So, really delivering what we wanted it to deliver.
That's tremendous. And that confidence is so important, isn't it? To give young people the perception of what they already are. Very often they don't realise the skills they've got. They don't realise the contributions they can make. And we have to enable them to do that. So within the business, what level of the business is actually driving this agenda, Elin?
Yeah, so it's been very much led by the academy team, so the team that I'm part of. But the other bit that we really wanted to do with this was engage the organisation behind it, because Nestle supports all employees with 2 volunteering days. And through COVID, one of the things that people found hard was actually you couldn't go and, I don't know, we used to do like gardening for a day, or go and litter pick on a beach or whatever it might be. Some of those things were a bit harder to do. So this then became something that was really accessible to people. So, and people in our organisation, lots of people are really passionate about supporting young people. So we actually went out to the organisation to ask for volunteers. In our initial pilot, we had over 60, and we've now got 100 live volunteers. So they're from every level in the organisation, right from apprentices who've recently joined through to members of our UK board.
And if I was to ask you what one challenge has been that you've had to overcome, what would it be?
I'd say that, can I give you 2?
Go on, then.
There's 2.
The price of one.
They're fairly small, really. I mean, the first challenge that we've faced actually is because we're working with Wild Hearts on a number of different programs and a number of different ways that people can be involved as a volunteer, it's quite complex. So we're trying to simplify it for people that we can almost have a bit of a one-stop shop, if you like, for people who want to be involved as a volunteer within Nestle. So we're just in the process now of launching something called Nestle Youth Ambassadors, which is all around, you know, I'm in the organisation, I'm passionate about supporting young people, I want to be a youth ambassador. The second is really just a small practical point, really, in that trying to schedule these sessions with schools is really tough. They don't work that far in advance, and like people's diaries in our organisation, I'm sure in many of yours, get booked up so far ahead. So we're having to say to employees that it'll happen in November, we don't know quite when, but it will be in this week, this week, and this week. So that has been actually a really small thing, but quite big impact, because people can drop out if they can't make the time.
Well, thank you very much indeed, Evelyn. That's really kind of you to share those things with us. And I think it's really fascinating to see how your team is making that impact and how you're driving those statistics. But statistics actually are all about people, aren't they? It's all about giving an individual confidence. It's all about taking that individual on a journey which enables them to do whatever it is they can actually achieve with your assistance and with your help. So thank you, Evelyn. I'd like now to turn to our second guest today, Adele Bridgman, talent partner at Lad Bible Group. And Lad Bible Group's an organisation whose mission is to give the youth generation a voice by building communities that laugh, think and act. That's not to say, of course, that they don't address the serious issues which are all around us at the moment, but they do it in an engaging way. And what better way could you possibly do it? I think we're going to have laughter as one of our new things that we're going to focus on, I think, in the Sitting Gills Foundation. We do quite a lot of laughter, actually. But Adele, you're responsible for recruitment, but primarily with a diversity and an inclusion lens. So how does that play out in your CSR skills development work?
Sure. So thank you very much for having me, and lovely to meet you, Michael. So at Lad Bible Group, we're committed to having a workforce that is representative of the world around us. So that means that our attraction, our recruitment, our onboarding, right the way through to our policies and processes are constantly being reviewed so that our people feel supported at whatever level they are, and that Lad Bible as a business is fit for purpose, that it's competitive in the marketplace, and we are investing in our people. We know that the pandemic has disproportionately affected Gen Z and millennial audiences, and so we partner with other businesses and other charities to attract talent and share our opportunities. We've also condensed and amended our interview processes for all of our roles, and we also focus on the value, as in what people will gain by joining us.
Tremendous. So what sort of programs do you currently have in place to equip entry-level talent with the skills that you and they need for the future, Adele?
So because entry-level talent is really important for us, and it's important because it's our audience that we're talking to every single day, we've heavily invested in this area and created some new initiatives. So the first is Kickstart, the government scheme to help 16 to 24-year-olds that are at risk of long-term unemployment. We currently have 16 Kickstarters near to completing their placement with us across a whole variety of different teams within the business. So ranging from marketing and communications through to data intelligence and planning, through to other teams like content and video. We've partnered with the Prince's Trust to help give our Kickstarters that wraparound support, training sessions where they are paired with mentors to help set them up for success going forwards. And it's been absolutely incredible, which is why we are in the middle of hiring the second cohort to join us in November. The second programme is our Future Talent programme, which is open to everyone, regardless of age and level. So we encourage candidates to apply in a variety of different ways. So either with a viral challenge or a video editor or a written task. They're then invited to 2-day paid trials, which helps us to secure junior talent across our content and video teams. And then lastly, we launched Lad Apprentice. We love putting Lad, we love branding up every single scheme. So we launched Lad Apprentice, which is our new apprenticeship scheme, which was open to candidates that want to pursue a career in media. The programme is 18 months long, and during this time, our apprentices work within our social team, and they help develop skills such as how to use a camera, how to edit, and how to plan campaigns.
Fantastic. That sounds really interesting, and I'd be quite keen on that myself. Don't think I quite fit into the right age group, unfortunately. Hey ho! But as the Queen says, you're only as old as the age you feel, which is really important. So you're very much a youth orientated organisation. I have to say to everybody, if you've never been on the Lad Bible Group website, it's well worth having a look at. It's some really tremendous stuff on it. It's really exciting, and it seems to me a really great way of engaging. But how do you prepare the business in order to gain maximum buy-in from your stakeholders?
So we were lucky enough that our board, our teams and our managers are fully behind the different schemes that we've successfully rolled out. We're committed to hiring people that reflect our audience, and investing in talent at that junior level helps us to do that, and also helps our managers and our departments think creatively and stay on top of Gen Z issues and trends. But what I would say is, if you're a business that is struggling to gain mass buy-in, I'd suggest focusing on the stats, because we know that according to the ONS, 250,000 young people have been unemployed for 6 months or more. So that's about 250,000 reasons to look at different ways you can create programs, be creative, that cater towards giving young people the skills they need to develop their careers. Also, by having clear commitments to help the younger generation gain skills for employment, it also has a secondary effect on all hires, especially senior hires across your business, as you'll become a more attractive employer of choice.
And finally, Adele, over the last couple of years, both the D&I and the green agendas have become paramount. How do you see the youth generation responding to those particular agendas?
So we know through our audience that Gen Z are passionate about what companies are not only committed to, but actively doing to be more green and create diverse and inclusive businesses for all. We also know that Gen Z choose to digest media through social channels more than traditional channels. So it's a great idea for businesses to be more transparent and talk about their commitments, but also publish regular reports to see how they are tracking against those commitments. At Lad Bible Group, we recently launched our D&I report, which is a follow-up to our D&I commitments that were published last year. And it shows that in some areas we're excelling, but also there's so much more work to do. But that's indicative of the entire industry, that Gen Z want to see tangible change rather than just commitments or promises that come out annually.
Well, thank you, Adele, and I certainly would sort of underscore that what we want is action, not just reports and people talking about things. We want people actually doing things, and that's why we've gathered together today, so that we can hear from these really great examples and hopefully stimulate people into doing even more. But thank you very much, Adele, and I want now to move on to our final contributor, John Paddock, Head of Employability at BMN Stores. Now, I should actually be trying to do this in French, because John is a lifelong learner and has just started French lessons. So if anybody on the call can ask questions in French as we go along, I'm sure John would very much not appreciate it. Congratulations, John, on actually continuing your lifelong journey. Now, BMM Stores, we all know them, we've all seen them, we can see the logo behind you from the website, big brands and big savings. And the thing that struck me about BMM Stores when I looked on the website was the work and the support you give to charity. So I would say big brands, big saving, and big hearts as well, because it's very clear that you are very much an organisation rooted in your communities and delivering benefit to them. Retail, you know, John, seems to have the reputation that staff come and go quickly. So in terms of your CSR initiative, how are you using that to address this, and how are you engaging young people and upskilling them into your business? And I happen to know you got some absolutely brilliant facts and figures behind what you're doing. So John, share your story with us, please.
Thanks, Michael. So I think from our perspective, that little piece around retail, people come and go, I think the world of a pandemic has changed the landscape. And we were one of the essential retailers. And I think it's probably given a lot of young people in particular a little bit more job security, because we continued to trade. Our growth was enormous. We hit the FTSE 100 during the pandemic. So I think our colleagues already in the business have gained some confidence and a little bit more job security. And we also gained people from other sectors who had been furloughed or lost their employment. And we thought when everything opened back up, they'd all go back to the careers they had prior. You'd be amazed how many individuals have decided to stay with us. I think one of the highlights for me was I went to one of our distribution centres and there were two fellas packing pallets, and I spoke to them to find out that they were both airline pilots and they had come and joined us because they'd got no work. So I think there's a little piece for us around, we've seen the landscape change, but as the world has opened back up, we now need to be a lot more proactive, particularly around young people. So B&M Retail didn't have an employability department. We believed in going out to our communities and talk to the local communities. That was our best recruitment tool. But we've looked at other initiatives. And as Adele shared, one of the big ones for us was Kickstart. And I can remember in December 2021 having a conversation around Kickstart, and I thought, this is a crazy idea. I don't know how it's going to work. Do we go to a provider and get them to do that wraparound support, or could we do it ourselves? And I want to just share with everyone, we created a program, and the program was quite a simple one. How do we recruit young people? And we adopted a simple process. Have you ever considered a career in retail? Come and gain some valuable experience, come and have a meet and greet. No interviews, because we're going to upskill you in that. And we did something that our board thought it will never work. We offered young people the opportunity to send the word kick and their name by text, and we'd call you back. And I think our first day, we'd had over 900 text messages. So we decided, how do we do it to appeal to young people? We made it really simple. And then we wanted to give them some upskilling sessions. So we've done life skills. So we've done life skills. What does a payslip look like? What's national insurance? What's that thing called income tax? Sorry, I've just got a bit of noise in the background. So
don't worry.
What's that thing called income tax? And what we've done, guys, and I'm happy to share this with the guys on the call to support you on your journeys, but we have given every single colleague, a Kickstart colleague, their own guide. And inside our guide, to make it very young and youthful, there are QR codes for everything. So right down to an interview session, what does my interview look like? They scan the QR code, it takes them into an upskilling workshop. We've done a bit around mental health and mental well-being, scan a QR code. What does that look like? So generally, we wanted to give them that wraparound care. Michael, you mentioned numbers. I'm really proud to share that we have put in our business since April 1,763 kickstarts. Out of those 1,763, 84% of our first intake have been offered the opportunity to stay with us during the Christmas trading period or to stay with us permanent. So that government initiative made us look at young people differently. We told our operation that if you recruit a Kickstart, there are 3 signposts. The first one is, at the end of the programme, you will have a natural vacancy, you interview the Kickstart, and if they're suitable, give them the job. The second one, which is massive for us, if you find a superstar, sign them up to our level 2 retail apprenticeship that is supported by City and Guilds. So we've got the City and Guilds pivot platform, we do the EPA with City and Guilds, and it is working amazingly. And our drive for 2022 is, let's get these young people transition from Kickstart to apprenticeship. After that journey, we then offer ILM level 3, ILM level 5, and we are absolutely in a position where we are creating our homegrown talent. And our big plan is 80% of our store manager population should be internal talent, homegrown talent. But I don't want to go on too long, but I just want to share with you guys a couple of success stories that I am really passionate about. The Kickstart programme has meant that we are now looking at other programmes of working with people with disability, bringing in a more flexible working opportunity, working with carers. But absolutely, for us, it has made us stop and address a generation that, if anyone's on this call under the age of 30, I'm really jealous. But anybody who's over 30, unfortunately, we have to accept being a dad of a 17 and an 18-year-old. It's that generation that are going to pay for the pandemic. When I'm in an old people's home being looked after, it's the generation of under 30s who will be paying for me to be there. So we owe that generation every opportunity to get them back into employment. And the story I want to share with you is, I had an email from a work coach at a job centre, and he just said, John, I want to introduce you to Logan. Logan's 21, never had an interview, desperate to work in retail. He's never going to fill a shelf because Logan's in a wheelchair. I took that email, I phoned our local store, I spoke to the store manager and said, do me a favour, give Logan an interview. He needs the experience. I've got to tell you guys, a week later, Logan appeared at our store. He took himself out of his wheelchair. He put himself on crutches. He had a meet and greet in our office and started the next day as a checkout operator. He's already been signed up, week 6, already been signed up as a level 2 apprentice on a 30-hour permanent contract. So guys, that opportunity of the young people today, what we've realised is there is some real confidence issues. There are some barriers out there. Most of them who came out of education then found themselves in this world of lockdown. They haven't got the confidence. We need to get their feet back in our doors. For B&M, we're finding some superstars. So, Michael, I hope that has answered everything you intended to ask me and not put me on the spot.
It's answered all the questions, and I think Logan is a prime example of the talent that we can so easily lose. So let's remember that the younger generation are a talented generation. All we have to do is recognise that talent and create the opportunities for them. And I think all our organisations and businesses will benefit from them. So thank you, John, for sharing that. That's very good of you. And good luck with the French lessons. We'll be having you back to an event this time next year when we'll do it all in French with you. But congratulations on your lifelong learning journey. And I'm sure that's motivation also for other people within the organisation in terms of their lifelong learning journeys too. So this is the time when we have an opportunity to break into 2 groups, and then everybody who is with us today can have their say, can ask questions and can participate in the discussion. It's just popped up. Absolutely, wow, absolutely incredible. Love it all. I've just seen on the screen popped up, John. So thank you for that highly motivating story. So I'm going to pass over to my colleague Amanda, who is going to break us into 2 groups, one led by Paula and one led by Sally. We will be in those groups to about 12 o'clock. We've got about 20 minutes to share our views, share our thoughts, ask our questions, and then come back to a plenary session. If I can ask Paula and Sally to ask somebody in your groups to feed back, please. Otherwise, we'll have a period of silence, and the last thing you want in any broadcast media is a period of silence at the end. And then we'll see how we get on. So technology willing, we will all see each other on the other side of Zoom, and hopefully we'll be in a room shortly. Amanda, over to you with the buttons. People are still coming back in, so we'll give them a moment to appear. You always hope you don't lose too many people at that point, don't you, really, as people disappear off into the ether or lunch.
Yeah, I think we only lost one at the end, but really, really fantastic session, actually. It went so fast. I don't know about the other group, but...
So, Paula and Sally, let's start with Paula, because Sally and I were in the same group, so I know well, I hope I know what she's going to say. Either that or we're all going to heckle. We've always agreed that we'll heckle her if she gets it wrong. So, Paula, who's reporting back from your group, and what sort of topics did you bring up?
Well, my lovely colleagues from Home Bargains, Mo and Jodie, are going to feed back from our session. So, over to you, Mo.
I don't know why I volunteered. Hello, Michael.
Hello, thank you for feeding back.
Oh, no, you're welcome. We opened up by saying that we're not doing as much as we think that we should be doing as an organisation. Well, we're not. We know that we're not doing nowhere near enough. We're really at the beginning of our journey. We do offer apprenticeships, but only to our own. So for us, it was really interesting to listen to. I mean, the the guys are just doing amazing things. So everybody gave a little bit of an update. I mean, Adele was really good to talk about not worrying too much about things being too perfect and just getting going with something. You know, you can kind of wait and refresh, but sometimes just getting going is really what you need to do. And then Evelyn was talking about having lots of ideas, and sometimes you just have to prioritise and go with one thing to get the ball rolling, and then you can build on things. Michelle talked about the work that she's doing around work experience, apprenticeships and webinars, and really building partnerships with young people really to get things going. And I was really interested in what David was talking about from Sainsbury's. Again, like us, they do apprenticeships for internal individuals, and they're not involved in the Kickstart, but they do their own boot camps. And one of the things that I really liked about what he was saying was, you know, a lot of people don't go, well, when I grow up, I want to work in store or I want to work in a distribution centre. So they're doing a lot of work to make retail and distribution the choice, you know, to make it a little bit more sexy, so people actually buy into wanting to go into that industry. What else did I have? I volunteered and then just done loads of notes. Emma talked about Barclays. I mean, Barclays have always been really at the leading edge, haven't they, with CSR work, talking about their citizenship programme. And I think for me, that really opens up the fact that we should be doing more work with schools. So really working from the age of 7 up to 19, and it kind of expands into adults. Evelyn and Nestle and Emma also talked about helping disadvantaged individuals and the drive to bring in a diverse population within their kind of audiences. And Evelyn talked about that bit bringing real big business benefits, which was really good. And then the last bit, we did talk about benefits. I mean, the time did go so quick, we could have had like loads more time. And the benefits and impacts were getting buy-in really from senior level. I think it was Michelle who talked about this, and really getting progression through the organisation, you know, bringing young talent in and really being able to see quite quickly the return on investment. So much so that enabled them to kind of grow their involvement. I think I did cover everything, Paula, but please feel free, or anybody else, to chip in if there's bits that I missed.
Anything to add, Paula? That sounded pretty comprehensive to me, and tremendous report. Brilliant. We know who we're going to volunteer in future to take the notes. Absolutely superb. Right, Sally, your turn.
I wish I'd gone first, can I just say, because mine won't be as coherent. Anyway, I'll give it a go. So the things that we talked about in our group were how important this piece about the engagement with young people, thinking about how we actually communicate with them. And, you know, John talked about sort of challenging that old school mentality we have about how we think we should communicate with young people and what they're going to respond to. So, and the fact that we really need to challenge and change our approach. I mean, he talked about it in his presentation with the sort of QR codes and text and all that kind of thing. And it's, you know, just really all of us thinking about that. We talked, leading in from that, we talked about jargon and the need to remove that and help people understand what we're talking about. And we focused a lot of our conversation on thinking about the support that young people need, particularly coming out of the pandemic. Somebody in our group coined a brilliant phrase, which I will be repeating, which was around the COVID hangover. For young people, no one's had the opportunity to do work experience in the last year or so, hardly any have. I know my 16-year-old didn't, and Sam, I think it was you that said it, wasn't it? It was, you know, so there's a real, that's put back a whole generation or a whole load of kids. So how are we going to support them? What we as employers need to make sure that we think about how to help there. That both with getting more involved with schools, we talked about that as well, and getting in there to sort of us as employers offering opportunities for that work experience and for that explanation about what opportunities there are. now I really can't read my writing whenever I try and scribble. Yes, how can we make employment more visible? Anyone else from my group? Did I leave anything key out?
I think we spoke a bit about seeing what a whole career could look like, not just like that's to the entry level job, although that is the first steps to get in. It was like kind of seeing a career, and I think when you are a young person, sometimes you don't like see that whole journey ahead of you, and again, busting the jargon, busting what all the different roles actually are, and really explaining it and seeing how you can build that career through networking, through all of these steps.
Definitely. I mean, it was about the ladder and understanding that so we talked about McDonald's and what they were offering, and you just see that as maybe looking or working in the drive-through, but actually the logistics and the departments behind making McDonald's the success that it is. There's so many. They have finance, they have all the different types of jobs, but actually it's just challenging that perception of you're stuck behind a drive-through screen almost.
Anybody else want to add to either group? Any other points that we want to raise? I mean,
building confidence I wrote down, so I think that providing that extra support as well, and helping build confidence and young people to recognise what their transferable skills are, particularly if they haven't engaged with school. And that can be not just, so we didn't talk about this bit, but that's for young people who've really disengaged with education but who've got brilliant talents to offer, then it is about, I think there's work to be done there as well about how we uncover them.
We engaged with Unipart, who you based over in Oxford, who did a brilliant piece of work. It was about 4 or 5 years ago, when they challenged themselves. They started doing apprenticeships, and they challenged themselves to how could they cope with bringing youngsters in who nobody else would possibly employ. And they set up a program where they got about 15 youngsters who were, the job centre said nobody will ever give them a job. And they said, well, we're going to try this out. And they literally went round and banged on doors in the morning, poured cornflakes into bowls, put people in cars, drove them to the office, looked after them during the day and took them home again. And on one occasion got somebody out of bed. And in fact, they employed them after a month of doing that. That cohort of young people actually were very employable and had a whole range of talents. And some of the colleagues at Unipart said, "You're bonkers. This is, what are you doing, or what are we doing?" And at the end of the day, it proved incredibly profitable because they got a group of youngsters who were really committed to what the organisation was seeking to do. So sometimes putting that extra effort in and doing things which, well, it has nothing to do with the world of work, but actually it might be. It might actually take both the individuals and the organisations on journeys that will benefit commercially as well as benefit people in terms of the development. So sometimes going the extra mile does mean doing some quite odd things, pouring out the cornflakes. So can I
add one thing to that, Michael? Sorry, I was just thinking that linked to all of this, and I was thinking it is this whole piece where people who perhaps haven't recognised any talent within themselves, haven't succeeded at school, GCSEs qualifications do give a boost, do give confidence, and actually being able to have whatever skills you've done recognised. So we know that digital badges really help because they accredit smaller pieces of learning, but still those that have given someone confidence and also raised up what it is that they can do. And I think that that's really important in terms of being able to sort of help people see that what they're capable of, but also then other people start to say, okay, well, that I want someone who's got that kind of skill, and then that can help them on the ladder.
Yes, and that motivation that a Kickstart graduation event at the end of the Kickstart program, the end of the apprenticeship program, getting parents in to celebrate what their young people have achieved as an employer can be really powerful. And again, if you're working in your local community, of course, they are your customers as well. So there's a great way to engage, great way to celebrate, great way to get publicity, and a great way to give often youngsters, particularly when we're looking through the CSR agenda, youngsters who've got significant challenges and overcoming barriers, giving them the recognition of achievement can often be a really motivating step on the road to the next achievement that they will enjoy. So we can all help that to happen.
I guess I'm thinking pre-apprenticeship. This is where obviously an apprenticeship is a brilliant recognition, but there's all of these programs that can actually be some recognition built into that and make people, again, just help them on that journey.
I'm just conscious we've got a few minutes left. So the only thing I'd like to say, Michael, before we do close, is that we run these sessions, these virtual roundtables quite regularly now, and just hearing all the inputs and the contributions from everybody, it feels that there's so much more we can do in terms of sharing that best practice. We've got so many different examples of where employers are doing some great employability programs, some very different employability programs. So I think we can all continue to learn from each other. The content from today will be shared, will be almost kind of put into like a podcast. So all the contributions that we've heard, we can start to send those out on on social media. But I'd love to hear how you think a similar event like this could run again in the future. I mean, obviously we're still virtual. We're not. Hopefully we'll get some face-to-face sessions in next year. But any ideas that you have for any similar sessions in the future that you might feel would really benefit you? Any ideas? Just please feel free to share that. Really.
Absolutely. If you've got ideas of topics and things that people want to develop further, then please drop Paula an email or one of us an email and share them with us. But I think as we come towards the close of the session, I do want to thank everybody for their contributions, and also to the motivation of hearing when things are done well, the impact that it has. And I think that's really important for us all to sort of hear about that, to see that, to be motivated by it, and to realize there is such good practice that people will share. Never reinvent the wheel. If you think somebody's invented the wheel you want to roll on, go and talk to them about it, pinch their ideas, build on it, make it better, share it back again, because that way we can actually take this on a journey which will benefit the individuals and benefit the employers and our organizations too. So I want to thank Evelyn Bates from Nestle. I want to thank Adele Bridgman from Lad Bible Group and John Paddock, merci bien, from B&M Stores. And I do want to thank Sally from the Foundation for sharing what the Foundation's doing, and Paula for organising today. So thank you, Paula, for all the hard work in organising it. We've made it really hard for her over the last week or so by constantly asking her questions and changing things. And she's coped with that spectacularly well. So well done, Paula, on that one. And as today's event draws to a close, can I thank everybody for their contribution, for participating, and indeed for the work that you're doing with and for young people. It is so motivating to hear about it. It's so important, and let's carry on doing that, and let's carry on creating opportunities that take the youthful generation of today to places that they may want to aspire to, and let's help them understand what that aspiration and opportunity might look like. So closing down now, thank you very much for being here. I'm off to get my booster jab this afternoon, so it's another armful of serum or from in Ilford. So a trip to Ilford for me on a bright and sunny day in northeast London. So thank you all, take care and all the best, and have a good day. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.